Hola and welcome to Perspectivas Latinas, a community service of CAN TV. I'm your host, Juan Carlos Hernández. In the past few years, the Little Village Arts Festival has become an autumn tradition for the bustling neighborhood that is known for its business district. The arts have provided a different view of the people who live there. And here to talk about the festival, we have Samuel Vergara. Bienvenido.
How's it going?
Good. Let's talk about the history of this festival and how it came about and how you've been part of the process.
Sure. Well, the Little Village Art Festival goes all the way back since 2006. We started off as a collective of artists who had a grant given to us through Enlace and LISC, and it was part of the new community programs through Enlace. And from there, they had a summer program, and there was a lot of different artists and create up with artwork. And to celebrate this summer-long program, they decided to have galleries up for a 2-day event. Realizing that there was a lot of artists and there was tons of submissions, a lot of the local artists and people who were organizing decided, like, hey, this should be a year-round event. There's a lot of local artists and talent that we should showcase, and we should really turn this into a bigger deal, a bigger event.
So from that wanting to decide one event, it's become a year-round thing.
It's become a year-round, yes. We're now at our 8th annual Little Village Art Fest, which is October 5th and 6th, from 6 p.m. From 12 until 6 p.m.
Yeah, and tell me about how you became an artist and how you became involved I guess caught up into this movement for art in Little Village.
Well, ever since I was a kid, growing up in Little Village, just not a lot of artwork. There was some murals in some of the locations if you walk down 26th Street, but most of it was either cement grays or the industrial browns that you see that they color over gang graffiti. Right. A lot of the art that I used to see was, graffiti, tagging. A lot of the crews in the neighborhood will throw up, these pieces, and they were beautiful because they just signified all these colors. They were bright. One thing I know I wanted to do was bring more color into the neighborhood. And I was one of these individuals that always wanted to get out of the neighborhood because, a lot of violence, there was a lot of negativity. Didn't really know what I was going to do with my future. So I wanted to get out of the neighborhood. But, leaving the neighborhood and just realizing that there's so much of the stuff out in the world, and I want like others to experience that and bring that into the community, I end up finding myself coming back, to Little Village and trying to bring, I'm not trying to bring anything, but I'm more likely want to showcase what's already there in Little Village. Right. And what we have there is a lot of local artists as well as great talent that needs a voice to showcase their work and to bring it out into light.
And when you left, where did you go to? And what drew you back? Because a lot of people leave where they grew up, and maybe they keep some touch, and maybe their parents stay or friends and family, but they really never return.
No. Well, one thing that brought me back was broke up with my girlfriend. So I was living with their parents at the time, and I figured, we have to.
This was where?
This was I lived out in Tennessee for a while. Came
From
back.
Little Village to Tennessee?
Well, yeah, Little Village. I pretty much traveled around. Again, I wanted to get out of the neighborhood, wanted to experience what was out there.
Right.
And money, that, and I missed my parents, and I missed the neighborhood, really.
Despite what the negativity and violence.
Despite all the negativity, I missed the hustle and bustle. I missed the smell of menudo on a Sunday morning with your family. I missed I missed the church. I missed seeing my friends. I missed the community. And that was something I was looking for, but evidently it was under my nose the whole time. When it was in La Villita, it was in my neighborhood, and that's what called me back, knowing that there was others who who need this opportunity or who just need somebody there to be like, hey, you can go out and do whatever you want, and it doesn't matter where you come from, whether it be in art, whether it be in anything else that you would want to achieve. Don't limit yourself just to the neighborhood. There's tons of things that are out there for you.
So you leave, you're living, I guess in a sense, not abroad, but certainly abroad from that small enclave in Little Village, and you come back. Were you doing art when you were outside of Little Village, or?
I was doing some forms of art. I was building a lot with my hands.
Okay.
I was doing set building. I was helping people create different types of agriculture. I was, tilling soil. I was doing a lot of work with my hands, and that's one thing that I guess I find in common with a lot of artists is that you're making something with your hands.
Right.
You're doing something that gives you satisfaction, and then at the end, other people can appreciate your work. And I myself don't find myself I consider myself an artist, but not in that light where I can make a painting and just people were like, oh wow, that's amazing. I'm going to pay this much amount for it. But I see myself as an artist, as somebody who can pretty much view reality in a different perspective. And I guess translate it in a simple way to everybody else who can get the concept. Other people, I guess, see things in a different way, and I guess I would like to consider myself an individual who can help others see that light or see that view.
So you're not necessarily a painter, but you are. I guess, what type of art do you do, and how did that finally bring you into the Little Village Arts Fest and into Villarte?
I do a lot of mixed media. Again,
Okay.
anything that I could work with my hands. So it's either sculpture,
Okay.
it's painting with my hands, finger painting, working with clay, building something out of wood or steel. And how that pretty much got me into Villarte is stages have to be made,
Right.
Walls have to be put up. And even though it's not art per se, it's something that I find, pleasing and almost artistic, So I'm setting up this blank canvas for artists to come in and display their work. So I'm more of a backgrounds person as opposed to being one of the artists who are being showcased.
Okay, now I have, I guess, a question with 2 points. As far as an artist, who's been your greatest inspiration, but also as far as a member of the community? You said that the community drew you back. Despite the negative aspects of it, there was a lot of wealth there. Tell me about those two individuals, or the two things that have brought you to art in the first place, and the second that brought you to community or helped you appreciate it more.
Well, what brought me to art was just art. It's really hard to explain how, what drew me to art. Just the fact that, color, concept, almost like a way of living, a mentality. It's almost like it's something different, and I felt it's a category where most people can fit themselves into and just, help others see or just live in a reality where they can view it in a different way. And I really like that about artists. And one person who really helped me view that was Salvador Dali.
The surrealist from
the
Spain.
surrealist painter, right? So just viewing reality and just putting your own spin on it. But just knowing that you're not defined or you're not constrained by the laws almost of reality, but you can do kind of what you'd like to do.
Right.
And as far as community, there's a lot of different people who brought me back into the community. There's a lot of great individuals who are doing a great amount of work, who are still doing a lot of work, and who are friends when I was just growing up and just going back
Right.
and just hearing about all the good things that are going on. Hearing stories about friends who have been working with Enlace and just coming up with the different programming that they've been coming out with. Hearing great things from people from, organizations like Beyond the Ball or B-Ball on the Block, and all the great work that they're doing there. And just hearing people who are within the community, staying within the community and helping that community shine through a lot of, the negativity that's been, shadowing the community. And knowing that there's individuals who see that there's something good here, and we want everybody else to see that too. And that's one thing that was completely took over me and just made me want to give back to my community.
Because often what we, I think, our image of a community is formed by the news and by the media, but also by that, I guess, that culture of negativity that forms with that news, or that those tragic events that do happen in a community. But you said that these individuals doing good things in the community drew you back and made you an active member. Why do you think we don't have more individuals that do that? What do you think is sometimes lacking there?
I would say just lacking of awareness. You know, a lot of people are really hard just making things happen, and some things just fall through the cracks, and a lot of people just don't know that this organization is doing this or that this is happening over here. And a lot of it's just awareness and just making sure that people are aware of what's going on in their neighborhood, what's going on in their community, and how they can take part. There's one thing, you know, just not knowing, and I would say too is just, well, just people who just feel like they don't want to participate, or just lack of motivation.
Right.
You know, some people think it's not for them, or you know, probably won't want to go because it's raining outside or something like that. But I think awareness is probably number one, and two would just be lack of motivation.
Right. You said something key, the awareness, and obviously Little Village Arts Fest makes people aware of artists, of creative people within the community. How do you think Villarte, specifically the organization, and Little Village Arts Fest fits into the history of Latino art here in the city? Because obviously the Latino presence in this city is long, more than a century, but it's been in the past, I would say 30, 40 years where it's actually become, like you said, people have become more aware of it. How do you think this fits into that part of history?
I say it fits in as a part of history as far as tradition and culture. There's been a long tradition of murals being done within Little Village and even as far as Pilsen. And there's been a huge, you know, history with art being within our culture and within our traditions. And it's something where a lot of the artists in, Little Village Art Festival doesn't just celebrate artists in the traditional form as painting and sculpture, but it also celebrates, say it's your grandmother who does crocheting or knitting, these things that we see as parts of our culture, either like migajon or,
What's migajon?
Migajon is just pretty much it's clay, making clay out of, and make your figurines out of this homemade clay or masa. As well as people who do woodwork or wood carving, or even people who make making food. That's a culinary art, and this is something that is well steeped within our culture, within our traditions, and in history. It's just great that we're trying to pass on these traditions onto our youth, onto everybody else within the neighborhood. And I feel that a lot of it's starting to get lost, and we're just trying to hopefully continue within these forms, but just celebrated in a different way.
Okay. That is what I did want to ask you. It was one of my questions, but you brought it up. How does the fest gather and celebrate other types of art? Because it seems that the primary thought that comes about when we think of an arts fest, we think the visual arts, sculpture, painting. But what about the culinary arts or artisans creating, like you said, abuelita crocheting at home, or the literary arts? Maybe we have a lot of poets in our community.
Definitely.
How are they part of this fest?
Well, we have it's a call for artists, which basically anybody who has any form of art that they would want to display. In previous year we had have spoken words. We have theater groups as well as other literary groups come up and give spoken words and different interpretations of their art through a mass crowd. We also celebrate culinary arts by having all the eloteros, as well as some of the local businesses feature their food throughout the festival. La Catedral Cafe right there on 25th and Christiana is one of our biggest supporters, and it's also going to be housing workshops right next to the restaurant. So anybody who wants to come in and check out one of the visual displays of art and go try some of the culinary art by trying some of the food over there at the establishment can do so. As well as we also have a couple taqueros from around the neighborhood who, again, are showcasing their art. Tacos are tacos. I know everybody has your different opinion.
Right.
But for me, it's all about the salsa,
Okay.
And, anybody can put a meat on a piece of tortilla, but that salsa makes it sing. And that's an art form in itself. And,
Right.
and that's how we incorporate it. We try to find different ways how to incorporate it, but it's open to everybody. And it also depends on the curators, who are also volunteers. So they come in and they set up the galleries based on what they would like to interpret or want to show off in the neighborhood.
Okay, you've mentioned, all these people coming together, and how does that create a scene of art in Little Village, and how does that different from art, let's say in Pilsen or in another neighborhood on the south side or the north side? What distinguishes Little Village from those other places?
What distinguishes Little Village from all the other places is that I believe in Little Village, these are actually people who live and grew up here. You know, it's not, hey, we moved into Little Village or we're moving to these different neighborhoods and we have art to showcase. These are people who lived here their whole lives. Their grandparents lived in the neighborhood. They've been there. So these are people who've been, who I guess are just Little Village, I don't know, Little Villageans. I wouldn't know what to say, but these are people who are from the local area. They're not from anywhere else, and they're being, you know, steeped in Little Village tradition, and everything that's been affecting them is coming out, and they're interpreting that through their form of art. So what's different from what makes Little Village different from everywhere else is that you get to see residents from this neighborhood give their perspective, and you get to see Little Village through their eyes and how they see this neighborhood, how they translate life or everyday activity, and you get to view just a little bit of life and how it's like living in a little village, you know, through the food, through the conversations you have with some of the dons sitting on the corner, through, you know, just through the different experiences that you have with people who live in the community. Yeah, you know, once you meet somebody in a Little Village, first thing they're going to probably do is take you home, give you something to eat, and just have hours and worth of conversation. And that's something you experience in Little Village. It's a cultural experience as opposed to just another art festival or another show to go to, another hip thing to go to. It's a cultural experience. It's something that you can do not only with your friends but evidently with your family. And that's basically what we want to have in this festival.
That's certainly, I did go a few years ago to the Little Village Arts Fest, and that's certainly the sense I got from it. And what I want to do now is give our viewers a sense of what they'll see and what they'll experience when, if they choose to go to the Little Village Arts Fest. We're going to take a look at some photographs that were sent to me by you. So
this was actually at the past Mexican Independence Parade, which was this past Sunday. And here we are marching with a couple of our volunteers. We have OPDE represented, so we're walking down from 26th in California all the way to 26th in Costner, representing the OPDE and passing out our flyers for our festival for this year.
Okay, and volunteers, you say this is pretty much a volunteer organization then?
Right, it's all run by volunteers. You know, no one's getting paid to come in and set this up. It's just a lot of artists who really care about the neighborhood and really care about showcasing the local talent that we have here. This is one of our galleries, and we have a volunteer worker just pretty much giving a tour of what we have. Here's some more of the art pieces that we have in some of our galleries.
Okay. These are all artists from Little Village?
Right. Either artists that were either live in Little Village, work in Little Village, or are inspired by Little Village.
Let's talk about what you hope. You mentioned that when somebody comes to the festival, it's not just a festival that's hip, but an entire experience. What besides that is the purpose of this festival? I think you've touched on some of that, but in your own, I guess if you could just summarize that yourself, what do you hope people get from this festival?
Well, I hope people get that, you know...
and the community itself too, because it's not just outsiders coming in, but the community itself.
Right, I just want the community to be showcased as, you know, in a positive way. A lot of people, when you think about Little Village, it's that neighborhood next to Cook County, or when you hear about Little Village, and actually this happened back in Channel 7 when they broadcasted that, Pilsen's having a Mexican Independence Day parade. There's a lot of gathering out here in Pilsen, and it wasn't in Pilsen, it was in Little Village. And, you know, and I have nothing against Pilsen. It's a great neighborhood, but when it comes to being recognized as your own neighborhood as Little Village, we don't, you know, nobody wants to get neighborhoods mixed up. You know, you want to be proud, and you want other people to recognize where you come from. And, you know, we want to put away that negativity, and we want the community just have people come in and check out what we have. You know, Little Village is an amazing neighborhood. There's a lot of great stores, restaurants, and places where people could just come in and just relax. It doesn't have to be one of those things where it's, all right, kids, let's roll up the windows and just drive on through. You know, it's really It's a really great neighborhood to walk around in, and just to show everybody else that there is culture, there is activity here. You know, it's not just gangbanging and drugs and murder. There's a lot of positive things going on in the neighborhood, and there is a lot of a sense of community and culture going on in Little Village.
You said walking around, and that reminds me of something I hear in Spanish quite often. La cultura está en la calle. Mm-hmm. The culture is on the street. Does that sum up what Little Village is about and what this festival is about in some sense? In some sense,
yeah. You know, it's local people of the street. You know, that's where you hear all the words. That's where you hear everything what's going on. That's where the chisme happening.
Right.
You know, and that's what we bring. You know, it's a really just. I don't know what's the proper phrase to put it in, because I don't want to make it seem so bad, but it's your everyday gathering, I'd say. You know, like, it's funny how like a lot of people would put these shows together and they'll call them art galleries, but you know, back then people just put it together and it's more like a celebration, or it's a mercado. It's something that, oh, this is what we have, this is what we're showcasing. And in our culture, it's more like an everyday thing as opposed to some sort of special event, kind of deal.
And touching on that point of the special events where people just putting art together, how do you go about selecting the venues and the artists for this festival? And you know, as we know, and I think most of our viewers would know, Little Village doesn't have much gallery space, dedicated gallery space.
Actually, there's pretty much no gallery space dedicated to any of the artists in Little Village. Okay. And what we do is we go out to different businesses and we ask if they could volunteer their space for the weekend, and we can hang up their art. Some other vendors or some other businessmen actually have open locations or open storefronts that are vacant that they let us use, and we could run galleries, pop-up galleries for the weekend there as well. So it kind of brings, you kind of see 26th Street a little bit more full of life, because you know there's these empty storefronts that people walk by every day, and then all of a sudden throughout the weekend you see a gallery there and people could walk in and like, oh wow, look at this. So it's great to have it in the footway, because if we have it anywhere else, if it's not on 26th Street, there's not a lot of heavy traffic, and people are interested.
Right.
You know, if they see something new, they see somebody working on something, they want to come in and they ask questions like, well, what's going on here? And we tell them what's going on, and they're like, oh wow, this is great, you know. And as far as artists, we celebrate everybody. Again, it's any resident of Little Village, people who work in Little Village or who are inspired by Little Village. They submit our art. They can find all the information on our Facebook page.
Yeah, we do have a graphic for that. So.
Right, and from there they could find out any information on where they could submit their art, what kind of artwork we're looking for, or any other information as far as volunteering, curating, or just trying to be a part of the festival and where it's at.
Tell me about an abuelita, because that term keeps coming up, who's seen some art and decided to participate, or how. Just a story about someone that isn't necessarily considered an artist, but comes in and is an artist.
Yeah, I would use my girlfriend's mom. Okay. She does a lot of crocheting, a lot of needlework, and these are very intricate pieces. And you're looking at a lady who spends and for her, I'm pretty sure it's nothing. It's just like, oh, I just do it because I can do it. But you look at these intricate pieces and you're like, wow, this is very intricate, delicate work.
It's art.
It's art, exactly.
Right.
And it's something where, you know, somebody looks at it as a doily. Oh, okay, I could just put it on the piece, you know, I could just put it on the table. But my girlfriend grabbed some of her mom's pieces and displayed them on the wall, and people were just like, wow, these are really nice. And it's just like, you know, it's
they're on the wall.
Yeah, they're on the wall. You know, it's of course, you know, like a couple of seniors are like, well, that's not where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be on the table.
Right.
You know, but other people who see art as art can see and appreciate that this is artwork. You know, this is something that someone really took their time and effort on, and just look at the detail and can marvel at it and look at it as art.
Now again, tell us if I love Little Village, I live there, or want to celebrate Little Village, how do I submit artwork?
Again, you could check out our Facebook page, and from there I can tell you where you need to submit artwork and how you can submit that artwork.
Okay. Tell me about opening night.
Oh, sure. Opening night is going to be October 4th, which is a Friday, and it's at the Prosper Skate Park, which is on 2620 South Central Park. We'll be featuring art from Yollocalli. They'll be hosting our opening night, as well as having some of the taqueros there, so everybody can experience a little taste of Little Village. So they get to see a lot of art developed by the members of Yollocalli, and they get to try some of the amazing food that they have there in Little Village as well.
Okay, I want to go back to some of the photos that you submitted,
Sure.
and talk a little bit more about that and what our viewers might experience once they come out to the Little Village Arts Festival.
Sounds good. So this is artwork from Laura Vergara, who's she's a graphic designer, and this is some of her artwork pieces. She was also featured in Chicago Artist Month in one of our previous art festivals.
And what's this? Is it DJ?
This is one of our DJs. He's also having his own podcast. This is Charlie Garcia, also DJs a lot of great Mexican music known as Sonorama.
Okay.
From here's housing his little internet radio broadcast and telling people about what's going on at the festival.
Okay, it's electronic music?
Right.
Okay.
This is us walking at last year's Independence Day parade, and from here we spelled out. Well, it's backwards, but it spells our whole.
That's how we see it, but it'll be fine on the screen.
Oh, okay, cool. Be up there. Some more pieces from some of the local artists. Again, we get a wide variety of age ranges. So it could be somebody who's, in second grade, or it could be somebody who's 60 submitting pieces in.
Okay, so a wide variety of age groups.
Right.
And what's this picture here?
This is one of our workshops. This is one of the members from Arte y Realidad, who's helping this little girl make a bracelet. So we have a lot of interactive workshops where the community can come in and take place in making some art. And they could actually witness that on Saturday and Sunday, which is October 5th and 6th at La Catedral Cafe on 25th and Christiana. And that's where we'll be housing all our workshops out of.
So they won't be all over the community?
They won't be all over the community. We're still dabbling with some of the details. So we may have different workshops in some of the different galleries scattered out the neighborhood, or we might just keep them within one location.
Okay. Finally, we're down to our final minute. Telling me, are there any plans to expand Villarte and this festival in the future? What is that group of people thinking?
Well, we're looking to hopefully achieve a 501c3 status and become a non-for-profit organization, and we're also hopefully looking to find a permanent gallery within Little Village, or a community center where we can house our activities, or have a gallery space where we can showcase a lot of our local artists. Again, we said, there's not a lot of gallery space, virtually no gallery space in Little Village, and it would be great to have one place dedicated for the arts.
Okay, great. Samuel, thanks so much for coming out.
Juan Carlos, thanks for having me.
Perspectivas Latinas is a community service of CAN TV. If your nonprofit organization would like to work with CAN TV, call 312-738-1400 and ask for nonprofit services. Tune into Perspectivas Latinas for local issues and concerns every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on CAN TV 21. I'm Juan Carlos Hernández. Thank you for joining us.